Welcome back to another episode of the Casey Campbell Podcast. Casey Campbell with you, of course. We are pleased to be joined by Oriol Servia. How's it going, man?
It's good. It's going well. We're still here breathing and kicking. So that's a great start, right?
Yeah. So, what have you been up to since the IndyCar season ended? Of course, I know you are the pace car driver, but what have you been up to?
Well, yeah, it's kind of like crazy how early it seems to finish, right? IndyCar, like all of a sudden, like early September. I remember when we used to go until mid-November. I liked it better. But anyway, yeah, I just came back from Mexico. I was lucky to be invited to the Legends Cup
Yeah.
race that was happening the same weekend as Formula One. And it was really the main supporting race for Formula One. My good friend and all competitor Michel Jourdain was putting the race together, and he invited a bunch of older IndyCar drivers like myself that we used to race in Mexico to go there and race. So I don't think he had to ask twice to anyone. Tracy, Junqueira, Tagliani, Casey Mears, Mark Blundell, Adrian Fernandez, Mario Dominguez, Chaplin Diaz. There was a fair amount. I'm sure I'm forgetting someone. Junqueira, I didn't mention Tagliani. Anyway, it was a great group. It's people that we used to fight and compete really hard against each other, but after many years of doing that, you create it develops a respect, because at the end of the day, you're not winning all the time, right? So the other guys are beating you. So you develop a respect because you know how hard you're trying, and if someone else is beating you, it means they're doing something better than you. So um, it created, after 20 years at least of doing that, this great energy between us. So yeah, we're all looking forward to go there. Unfortunately, it didn't go as planned for me. We can get into that if you want, but the reason to be there and the energy and everything was absolutely wonderful.
So yeah, so what did happen when you were there? Of course, being down in Mexico for Formula One racing with all those we had Kate when we had Casey Mears on last week. So what was that like to be a part of that and be down there? I know it didn't work out well for you, but
It didn't, and this is what happened. So Michelle organized this race in an interesting way, right? So those cars do a full season championship in Mexico.
yeah.
They are privately owned by obviously individuals that race that car the whole season. And Michelle had asked them like, "Hey, would you let these buddies of mine, these old IndyCar drivers, drive your car for the supporting race?" So many of them said yes, but it wasn't an easy task because, of course, it's everyone loves their car and you paid for it, and no one feels totally comfortable with having another driver race it, right? So I knew he had invited 11 drivers like myself, and he had 11 cars lined up. And to be honest, Michelle is been one of my closest friends for 20 years. I knew it was a big deal for him because, again, he's from there. He's the home hero, right? So for some reason, the week before the race, I told him like, "Hey, if there's any problem with any of the cars, don't worry, I can sit out. I mean, I know it means a big deal for you. You already invited all these other guys." Of course, I said it. I hope I didn't. It's one of these things you say that you feel it makes sense and you want to be nice. But the day we arrived there was a problem with one of the cars. So Michelle still pulled this crazy invention that he grabbed a car from another class, put a different engine in it. So my car had close to 50 horsepower less, and their cars are paddle, shift, and 6 speed, and my car was a 4 speed H pattern. So we knew there was a chance I was going to be a little bit off the pace, but we didn't expect that much. So on Friday, on the first and only session, practice was 30 minutes. I was 6 seconds off the pace, and every straight I was losing over a second. So it was looking bad. As happy as I was to be there, no one wants to basically have no chance, right? So I was struggling with the idea, but again, we were still there and enjoying. But some sort of a miracle happened, and Saturday in the second practice, at the first lap of practice, my engine completely blew up. They didn't have a spare, which meant I didn't have to at least suffer in the race and be lapped 20 times. So my race was over. So anyway, that was it. I mean, it wasn't a race again that was for points, and it was just for fun. So I would have loved to do it, but no harm from fault, no fault. The event was great, was a great success, and I definitely expect that it will happen again next year, and I will keep those nice words for myself this time, and I'm not going to offer my seat for anyone else. But yeah, no, I'm looking forward to do it again. It was great energy and great fun to see everyone.
Yeah, for sure. Um, Looking into, I know that, of course, with this upcoming season with IndyCar, are you looking to get back into? Are you looking to? I know you're the pace car driver, but are you looking to get back into driving maybe the Indy 500 at some point?
You heard some rumors, haven't you? Well, I
Yes.
never I never officially hang my boots. I stopped racing full time in IndyCar around 2015 when I focused on Formula E, the electric series. I
Yeah.
was partners in a team, and I was the managing partner really. So I did focus most of my time there. Um, my idea was to still do the Indy 500, and with that I would get my racing back out of the way. And honestly, I it's the biggest race in the planet. I've grown to love that race, and I think even if I'm not from the US, ovals kind of like came to me in a very natural way, and especially the Indy 500. It's a long race. Obviously, it's 500 miles, and my nature in all races is always has been kind of like weird. Like I usually start slow and I build up to it. Um, Hence why I always have to. My last thing before putting the helmet on, all my career has been taking a double espresso because I feel at the beginning of the race I need a bit of a kick in the butt. The 500 works great that way because obviously you want to be patient at the beginning. There's 7, 8 pit stops. You may be fighting with five guys that they may not be there at the end. So like it's the way the you approach the race kind of fits the way I approach a race naturally. And so long story short, I always try to see if there's an opportunity to jump in a good seat in a good team, and go for that win that I've been close to, but I haven't been able to do. And I always had the opinion that the Indy 500 is the most difficult race to win because you need so many things to go your way. Every pit stop, the strategy, you have to be inspired, overtaking, and obviously not get caught in a crash. So you have to have a lot of things going your way. Very difficult, but at the same time, it's the one race that you can just show up as an outsider and win it because you have 10 days to get used to the car, get used to the team, set up the car the way you want. At the end of the day, the Indianapolis racetrack has a lot of little details, but it's only 4 corners, right? So it's not like you really have to like learn, a 20-mile road course after you haven't been in a road course for a while, So you have time to warm up, you have time to get into it, and again, set up the car and the people around you, the team you bring, the engineers that fit you, and again, if stars align and you have a good day, you can win it. So yes, I'm trying to get on it. I have a small shot, but if it happens, it's a good seat, and that's all I want. I all I ask is to be in a seat in a team that makes me believe we have a shot, and I think if this happens, I would have a shot, and I want to win that race so bad.
Yeah. What was the hardest Indy 500 to get over? Like, what was a race that you came so close, but obviously didn't get it done?
So I finished fourth 10 years ago. Actually, I started in the front row another year and finished sixth.
Yeah.
And the time I got closest was 4 years ago, I think, when I was leading with 4 laps to go and I ran out of gas. Right. So that one was the hardest one. and everyone obviously that was watching understood why it was so painful. And honestly, we went with a little risky strategy because we knew we were going to be a little bit of short on gas. But all we needed is one yellow in the last 30 laps that would be of a normal crash that usually happens, and then I would have been able to save fuel under yellow to get to the end, right? So it wasn't that crazy of a strategy. It just wasn't our day. But not only because of the strategy. That year I had a car. I was driving for Rahal Letterman Lanigan, and
Yeah.
on race days, especially the last 50, 60 laps of the race, I felt I had the best car of anyone. I was passing people right and left. Actually, in just one the restart before the end, I had a problem in the pit stop. I went to the back, and in the restart, no exaggeration, I passed 19 cars in 2 laps. So I felt really strong. I felt we had a shot, and then to get that close, leading with 4 laps to go after 400 and almost 500 miles, and not have it. It was tough, but it's one of those things that it's tough to swallow. But when you're that close to having it, it also makes you realize that it's possible. It's right there.
Yeah.
Yes, it needs everything to go right, but it can happen. And sometimes, at least in my career, it's all I needed to get that extra fuel to make me work harder, to get better, and get the funding, get sponsorship, and try to think what I could have done better and what to do better next time. So that was definitely enough fuel for that, and I still have it. I still have that fire to try to win that small race.
Yeah. What year was that, by the way? Was that
I believe I don't I'm pretty bad. I think it was 2018, could be 2017. It was
2007? Well, you
17 or
ran with
18.
Rahal because I think you ran Detroit that the next week was you ran Detroit that next weekend. I think it was in 17.
Then
Um,
yeah, it was 17. You're right.
yeah, I know because I was there. I was at
Oh,
Detroit
right.
that next week.
Awesome.
Speaking of that, I know they're going to go to back downtown again, leaving Belle Isle and that. What's that going to be like? What do you think about that? Because it's going to be really interesting.
Well, listen, I think everyone liked Belle Isle because it was beautiful. You're surrounded, by water, and the layout was nice. I always felt it could have been a lot nicer because a couple times I did the rest of the aisle. Let's say what it's turn three, that we turn right. If you go straight, it had some super fast sweeping corners that I always felt if we could extend the racetrack another mile or half a mile, it would have been maybe one of the best street tracks we've ever been. But I think the race was very limited with what they could do because it's obviously public roads and
Right.
it's a park, so they could never do that. I don't know the reasons behind moving it downtown Detroit, but Formula One used to race there before, and I'm not sure. Maybe IndyCar did too. Um, I've seen Detroit over the last 20 years go through a lot of changes as a city. It's a city I really like, and if it's moving if moving the race downtown is one more thing that helps create energy downtown and normalize the city, then I'm all for it. At the end of the day, like, listen, people start criticizing, the layout doesn't look fun, it's not going to be a good race. What are you talking about? We have 27 full-time entries in IndyCar. It doesn't matter where you put us. Like, any fast, slow, it's going to be a fun race to watch. And you have 27 talented drivers and teams that they're going to, put it all on the line to win. So I'm sure it's going to be an exciting race to watch.
When did you start driving the pace car?
It's a good question too. You see, it's things I don't like to remember that much, Casey. I still think of myself like an active race car driver. So I think I've done it now 3 seasons. And I've been increasing more races every year. Like the first couple of years, I only did 6, 7 races. This past season, I did 15 races. I did all the races except the ones in Indianapolis where Sarah Fisher does them. And plus, I always like leaving the Indy 500 open just in case I get the right seat to drive in it.
Yeah. Yeah. Obviously everybody, when you think about like when people like the honorary pace car driver, when they get in, do you teach them like how to, it's like, this is what you do, this is how this happens and all that?
Usually they go through a little bit of one track day and stuff like that. For example, in Detroit, Mark Royce, president of GM, he's a great driver. Actually, he had an issue a few years ago at the start of the
Yeah,
race,
I was
unfortunately
there for that too.
for the wrong circumstances. But he's a great driver. He has a racing license. So most of the time, when they put somewhere in that position, it's someone that can drive, for sure. Because I'll tell you what, the pace car job is one of those that you only hear about it when we mess up, and right, if everything goes well, there's nothing you can do to show you're doing it right. But it's very easy to show when something goes wrong, and honestly, people don't realize how easy sometimes it can happen, because race control sees a situation, there's a crash, there's a car in a difficult position, they try to get us out, get the pace car out there on track, so I can direct the traffic the best way. But sometimes you have to come out that the tracks are still, the cars are still hot on track, and there's safety vehicles going out, and ambulances. So sometimes it gets hectic for a couple minutes, that again, you could get into trouble and look horrible on TV, which we try not to do, obviously.
Yeah. And of course, season starting just in a few months at St. Pete. Lots of exciting stuff here. Lots of entries in the field, but it's going to be an exciting year, I think. I think for IndyCar, lots of changes as well.
Listen, I think IndyCar, I actually don't remember one year that it was boring. Honestly, like, I think the product, the actual racing product of IndyCar, is just so good. And the more you get into it, the better it gets, from just watching qualifying. Like, when everyone is going out on, by the way, tires without tire warmers, like Formula One, tires are cold, and the drivers have to go out there and with one lap put that crazy lap together, and they all within hundreds. I find qualifying already like super exciting to watch. And then the race, I mean, even this year we got to, I think I think up to, I'm not sure, to the last race, but the for sure the race before last, there were still five guys going for the championship. Tell me what other, like, international good championship gets to that point at this level, that you have top contenders still with a chance to win at the very end, right? And it was a great ending, and I don't expect it to be any different next year. Like, all teams, the teams that won, like, willpower. I thought we saw the best willpower we've ever seen, and if I would be worried if I was the rest, because it's not just he won like the other championship, he won with just pure speed and dominant performances. This year we saw willpower a lot more mature than ever, with still the same speed. So I don't see why he cannot replicate another season like that, just taking the points when they're there. And when he has to do the poles, he does. I mean, come on. I think he's got 68 pole positions, like, world record ever. So the speed is there, right? Um, and the guys, I mean, his teammates are obviously like super strong, and they don't like to be beaten, so they're gonna be there. So Team Penske is gonna be up there. Team Ganassi, another group, they don't like to be beaten, and Alex Palou won the year before. Dixon is always a contender, still up to the last race, last lap, was still contending this year, right? And he's not giving up. Ericsson won the 500, obviously is up there and wants to show he can win the championship too. The Andretti guys, like they had the speed, but they've had some difficulties, either mechanical crashes. I'm sure they're lining up all their things together over the winter and making sure they're going to be up there. They have great drivers. I don't even have to mention them, that they're going to be winning and fighting. Then you have McLaren. I don't know, McLaren, like, they're obviously contenders now, and they're up there. They're going to be three strong cars. You have Rahal Letterman, at least, with three good cars. Also, and they've been a team that they've been always a strong engineering side, but they got even stronger this year. They brought a technical director from Formula One, that is a guy with a lot of experience, really smart. So they're going to be upping their game. I mean, and all of them, honestly, that's the beauty of IndyCar. Like, kind of like everyone has the right tools that if they make the right decisions, they can win that race and they can win the next race and they can be a championship contender, right? So I am, as you can tell, I'm excited to see it start, and I'm hoping to be there doing the pace car and hopefully beating all those guys at the 500 if plans come together.
All right. Well, Oriol Servia, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us, and best of luck trying to get an Indy 500 ride.
Love it. Thanks, Casey. Love being at your podcast, and I'll be following you the rest of your interviews.
All
I'm
right.
sure they're all really cool.
Yep. Thank you.